morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, 13th jurors. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. How lovely that we got Monday off, holiday, and now we get to skip and go straight into Taco Tuesday. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, JT. Hello. Good morning. Hi, guys. So JT is a lot more talented than I am. And I was doing this and realized like we have this fancy new video that I don't know how to work. Show. Oh yes, my fancy new internets. I got the new internets. My new internets are working and look how fast I can move. So excited about my new internets. My fiber optic stuff is officially, finally, after the longest process ever, is finally installed. That's the difference in having to get it in an entire condo building and doing it in a house. In a house, they can do it in one day, I guess. In the condo building, it took 8 business years. So, but fast AF, boy. Yes, look how fast I'm moving with my internets. Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That's a problem. That's a problem. I look younger when I'm blurry. So I might have to go back to the old internets. Dawn, hello, Dawn. Good morning. Good morning. You have been with us for 1 month. 1 month. Congratulations, Dawn. Welcome to your 1 month anniversary. Congratulations. 30 days in the cult, and we're glad to have you. Hello, hello. Good morning. You know what's funny? This hair is my wake up hair. So it's funny that you say it looks cute. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? We're going to rock it today. We're going to rock the bedhead. So, and when I have my headphones on, it almost looks like I did it on purpose. And I had the same bedhead yesterday when I did the recap of the videos with all the charts and graphics and stuff. And I actually noticed that I had the same hairdo as Felicia, Mariah's mom. So we were rocking the same hairdo. Hers was a lot more like tidy than mine was, but that's okay. It's okay. Dog mom, happy anniversary. You have now been with us for 1 month. Hello, hello. Welcome to your 1 month anniversary. Oh, goodness gracious. So, JT is much craftier than I am when it comes to the fancy stuff. I am not great with a video, but I did a graphic, so at least there's that. Our first in chat this morning in the tailgate party was Jill C. Welcome, Jill C. Take your throne, and I'll learn how to do the video so that y'all get your fancy little video that JT worked so hard on. But for now, you just get a graphic. Sorry. So Jill C, congratulations. Get your fancy throne. Casey, Bama Gal, get your stool. You were the second in the tailgate. Welcome, welcome. Come get your stool. And third up is Eggs and Spam. Eggs and Spam. Third in tailgate. You get your fancy beanbag. Yeah, I know. Back to the stool. I'm sorry. I apologize. I will learn how to do the video thing. I don't know how yet, but I will learn. I will have JT teach me. Because I'm not as talented as he is and all that. Hello, everyone's filing in. We're getting ready. We've got about 15 to 17 minutes before court starts. So I wanted to take a moment to go through. Let me exit out of this because I can only do one thing at a time because y'all know how my mind works. So there's a couple things that I wanted to, a couple like little short clips, because if you remember when we left off on Thursday, the judge is going to take into consideration everything about the mistrial stuff, and we will have his decision this morning. Do I think he's going to call mistrial? No. But could I be surprised? Hey, I've been surprised in stuff before. Like there have been, different things that have blown my mind in trials before. So this could be one of them. But I wanted to take a quick moment so that we can look at the clips that kind of led to this whole mistrial shenanigans. There is one clip, I'm not going to bother showing it, but the defense is saying that she's not just saying she doesn't remember, that she's recanting. So if she recants it, then it's a whole different scenario than just missing. So they kind of go through that a little bit. I'm not going to play that one because they go back and forth about that a little bit. But this is where I wanted to start everything out. So the judge tells her, let me pull up the timestamp. I wrote down the timestamps this time. 5:54. Okay, let's see. Let me throw it on in here. Okay, so this is where the judge is telling her that she can't put stuff on the record.
Not the attorney's questions that are in evidence. I mean, she doesn't acknowledge it, or even after asking leading questions, she's basically saying, she doesn't know, or that's the end of it. I mean, you can't go much further than that. You can't put in evidence. Didn't you say X, Y, and Z? The police officer, she's not acknowledging she said it. I can't see, how you do that. You can't.
So I think I can ask the questions because
what question?
In terms of, did you provide this phone number as the number for your daughter? Did you provide this number for the phone?
Okay, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit here. So you hear him saying, if she says she doesn't remember, you can't keep going and say, well, didn't you say this? Didn't you say this? And then let's see, about right here, he goes into a little bit more. So this is that he's telling her what not to do, and then we know she does it. But
so I don't want you to be saying, well, didn't you say to, the police officer, Mr. Moretti, or whatever, the officer's name is Detective Moretti, that you saw them on FaceTime or whatever it was, that they were on that date when the incident in question happened, and Mr. Demons told you X, Y, and Z. All right? The witness hasn't subscribed that the statement was accurate, so it's not getting in under recorded recollection, and it's not getting in as impeachment because it's a police investigation, not a deposition testimony or something along those lines. So it doesn't get in the way I read the rule under either of those two sections.
So
I don't want you to get in the back door, which you can't get in the front door.
No, just so I can make it clear, is Your Honor holding or stating that a police report cannot be used to impeach someone?
No, I didn't say that. What I said was the statements in the police report, right? You can't just read that back to her. Didn't you say this to the police officer?
okay, so he's saying right here, you can't just read her stuff back to her. You can't say, didn't you say this to a police officer?
I don't want that being done. I don't think that's appropriate. She says she doesn't remember the statement, doesn't know it's accurate. She didn't rely on its accuracy. And
understood. And I just want to make sure it's also clear under 9803 sub 5.
Okay, let's see.
I honestly, God, do not remember any of this on here. Like, I don't remember talking, I don't remember, I had a hard time that year, so it's a lot, but I don't remember about that year.
Is it your own practice to let law enforcement?
Objection.
Excuse me.
Okay, so she says, so she's showing her again. She's still trying so hard to get this stuff in here because it is a big part of, the prosecution. She was very specific in the things she said. This is not like something where, she was forced into saying something one time. These are her personal Instagram messages and, the statements that she's made multiple times, once in a statement, once in a deposition. So, the prosecutor is desperately wanting to get these in, but we just heard the judge tell her you can't, read it back to her. So she keeps showing her the paper, and Felicia still keeps telling her, nope, don't remember anything, have no idea, and says that nothing will refresh her memory.
I've never told law enforcement.
Quiet, please.
You never served me originally. That was a lie.
And in terms of,
Okay, so what she said, you never served me originally, that was a lie. This is where they kind of start to go at it a little bit. They're both getting really frustrated with each other. Felicia, of course, is upset because she was arrested. She was, and I pulled her paperwork. They arrested her in the Virgin Islands. She was getting on a plane under a fake name with a Georgia ID. And there's a lot more to the background, and we'll get into all that. But there's a lot more to all of this mess that is happening behind the scenes. So the Felicia and the prosecutor kind of go back and forth a little bit. Everybody's getting frustrated. The prosecutor keeps trying to push it in. There's objection after objection sustained, and it just keeps getting more and more uncomfortable to watch.
would take care of you and pay for your bills. Have you ever made a statement that is different than that?
Okay.
Were you
Listen to what she says here.
Okay. Ms. Holmes, were you ever told the defense, or the defendant rather, would take care of you?
Okay, this is the first time she says it. This is a huge deal because this is part of what leads up to the mistrial. She says this is the first time she says it, and she corrects herself. She says, have you ever been told by the defense, or the defendant rather, that he would take care of your bills? So this is the first time she says it, and she says defense, but then she changes it. So this is a big part of what's causing the motion for mistrial. I want to do 10 seconds. Listen to it one more time.
Okay. Ms. Holmes, were you ever told the defense, or the defendant rather, would take care of you and pay for your bills? Have you ever made a statement that is different than that?
I never said anything like that.
Can I approach her?
Sure.
Okay, so she says she doesn't remember that. She's never said that. Have you ever made any statements different than that? Canon Ann, okay, first of all, Canon Ann, congratulations on your 1 month anniversary. Second of all, this is not Felicia hair. She's rocking my hair. Okay, well, hers was first, so maybe I am rocking Felicia hair. But thank you. Welcome to being here for 1 month. I think I had one that I missed too a minute ago. Oh, Law Nerd Amber, 1 month anniversary. 1 month anniversary to you as well. We're glad y'all are here. My Felicia here. Let's see. Okay, so she goes to show her the statements about the money stuff, and of course she's still saying she doesn't remember, yada, yada, yada. In the words of Letitia.
Okay. So, Ms. Holmes, is it your statement testimony that you never stated the promises that were made to us by YNW for me to quit my job and they would take care of us were all lies? They didn't want us talking with prosecutors, but now they've all disappeared. You've never said that before.
I don't remember saying anything.
Objection, Your Honor. Move mistrial.
Thank you.
Okay, so he said, this is the first mistrial. Objection, Your Honor, move mistrial. Okay, so they just said, don't read what she said. If she says don't, if she says she doesn't remember or whatever, you can't just read it in to get it in the record. You can't. How did he word it? You can't skip the front door, and if you can't get something to the front door, go around the back door to put it in there, which is exactly what she's doing. So they literally just went over this about what not to do, and then she did it anyway. And they did not object right away, if you'll notice. And I feel like that, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. What do I know? But I feel like the way that they knew she was reading it, they knew she was going to read it. They called this going into this. And I feel like almost like them letting her get through that entire thing and then objecting and calling for mistrial, because she read the whole thing, it's going to be harder for the jury to just disregard. So maybe that was part of it. Maybe that's, maybe that was intentional. Who knows? Maybe they wanted her to get through reading the whole thing so that they could, they would have the better chance of a mistrial. Who knows? So let's see.
So, Ms. Holmes, in terms of, you made a statement to the effect of you were told to quit your job and the defense would take care of us.
Of the judge.
Excuse me.
Okay, now this is the second time she says it. This time she doesn't say the defense or defendant, rather. This time she just flat out just says defense. And then Felicia even repeats it and says, what? Defense? No. So this was the second big moment for them that they were going through on their stuff with the mistrial, because they were saying this is a bell you can't unring. It's improper. They're saying that by saying defense, that the defense was going to pay for it. They're saying that that's insinuating that it's not Melly, that it's Melly and his attorneys. When they're doing their argument about it, they even say, we've never even met her before this day. And, they do all of the arguments at the end of the day, which is what the judge says he is going to take into consideration. And that leads us to today. So, oh, goodness gracious. So that's where we're at. I'm excited to see what they say because I don't think that they're going to grant the mistrial, but it would be a huge deal if they did. I mean, that's a huge deal. So I guess we'll find out in a little bit. Court is supposed to start in about 3 minutes. So we've got let me make sure I'm live. Yep, we're live. So we will watch and see when they come in. But I wanted to replay those moments because when they talk about them, I wanted them to be fresh in our mind. But it is kind of a oh crap moment for sure. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see. All right. Can we do a poll real quick? Yeah, you want to do a poll on if he's going to grant the mistrial? We can do that. We can do that. Okay. Start a poll. Do you think the judge will grant mistrial? All right. Let's see what 13th jurors have to say about it. it's pretty interesting stuff though. You know, the thing about it is if he doesn't grant the mistrial, which I don't see it happening, but what do I know? But if they don't, then this is, you know, this is definitely something for appeals. Let's see. Yeah, if it's, from what I understand, if it's a mistrial with prejudice from or misconduct, either one from the prosecution, then that's it. They can't charge him again, or not charge him again. They can't try him again, from what I understand. So, if it was like a mistrial from like a hung jury or something like that, that'd be different. But if it's because of the prosecution, then yeah, wouldn't that be wild? Oh, there was one other thing while we're waiting. This, we went over this yesterday. Where is it? Oh, this one. So, okay. So people were asking about this. The thing with our friend right here, this fella. Okay, there was a lot of confusion about what his role was and what was going on with him and the cross-examination, where you could tell he was kind of getting confused. So I wanted to show this. Okay, the green and the red and the purple. Let me explain this real quick. The purple, okay, when he was talking about the bullet trajectory, first of all, he wasn't just the bullet trajectory guy. That was one small part of his testimony. He was talking about the GSR. He was talking about the clothes. He had other things. But on the cross-examination, they went, oh, are we going? Are they starting? Are they starting? What's happening? Oh, there we go. Oh, he's still not in there yet. Okay, before he comes in, we'll do this real quick. So this was a small part of what he was doing. So when he was talking about the trajectory of the bullets coming from the outside, he was saying in this, like when you're looking at it from the seat, if there's a bullet hole here and a bullet hole here, that's a small section that can show you trajectory, but there are other factors that can tell. And he used Gary Coleman and Shaq as an example. So here we have Gary Coleman and Shaq, and then he talked about the angle. So if somebody's like ducking down, that type of thing. So there's a bunch of different variables. But one of the things that they said on redirect that a lot of people miss too is that because he said if you don't have a hole coming from back here, then you can't get the full trajectory. But she said on redirect that, he did take into consideration it came in between the broken glass. But the thing about this is that there was a lot of talk about if, saying that, oh, well, nothing that he said matters. It was all, it can all be thrown out. That was such a win for the defense. And if this were a trial about who staged the shooting, then that would definitely have been a huge, huge win. I think the defense attorney did a great job as far as defense attorneys go. He got him, to talk about the different variables and say, how so many different things factor into that. But keep in mind, all of the shots that were done from the outside, according to the medical examiner, were done after the kill shots. So none of that stuff, like the whole 4'8" to 5'2" thing, none of that is really that important, because all that shows is who shot from, or an estimate of the height of whoever could be shooting from the outside. And that's not even saying, and when he was doing this, he was still taking into consideration, that this could be possibly a drive-by. So if they're looking at, according to what he answered when the prosecution asked him that, so the whole thing about how, that makes, that whole argument frees Melly. No, that whole argument was great by the defense. He did a great job, but who shot the outside of the car when the outside of the car weren't the kill shots isn't really that big of a aha moment. You know what I mean? That would be more the, accessory after the fact type of thing instead of the actual murder stuff. It's one of those things that's a foundational piece. It's part of the puzzle. Sure. 100%. But it's not the, aha moment that I think, a lot of people seem to be. I noticed on Twitter, a lot of people seem to think that one moment was going to all of a sudden, be the thing that set Melly free. Let's see. Peripheral evidence. There you go. Judy V, possibly. I looked into a lot of this over the weekend, and I didn't watch Law and Crime recaps. I watched a bunch of different attorneys that were talking about it, because I was curious about that too. And from what I understand, everybody that said if the mistrial is because of the if it's dismissed with prejudice, I think is what they said, then there's no retrial. Let's see. Yes, if it was a drive-by, as they claim, the height of the shots would also differ dependent on the type of SUV. Yes. So, I mean, here, I got a poll, because I'm curious, because if, Lord help, if I'm wrong, y'all tell me. 75% say they don't think it'll be a mistrial. I'm going to do a poll. Do you think there's typos? Do you think this could have been a drive-by? Please don't hit the wrong button. I'm curious to see if anybody actually believes that this could have been a drive-by. And if you do, I would like to, no judgment, I would just like to know why you think it could have been a drive-by. What evidence leads you to that conclusion? Yeah, Abby, this is what I was hearing too, is that if it's, if they grant the mistrial with prejudice, then he goes and he can't be retried. If it's without prejudice, then they can. Let's see. Diane says, I think the prosecutor was way out of line. If not a mistrial, then the judge should admonish her in front of the jury. Well, the judge did tell the jury the other day that question was completely improper, and that they needed to disregard it, and yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so 89% are saying no. So for those of you who think it could have been a drive-by, No judgment. I just don't see any way that's possible. So I want to see the way it's possible. So I want you to help me understand what you see that that I don't, that makes you think it could be a makes you think it could be a drive-by. I don't see it, but I would like to understand different points of view. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, I think Kevin Ball, I think that that tends to be the case with a lot of times when you have two co-defendants who they then split the trial. I think that with it being two separate juries, each one of them wants to throw it on the other one to be the possible shooter. Or killer or whatever. Anthony says, I think the driver did it. No reason to change clothes before going to the hospital. Okay, so, well, he didn't actually change clothes. He had the hoodie with him and he put the hoodie on before he got to the hospital, but he didn't change clothes. He still had the t-shirt on, but the shots came from the back seat. So do you think that he got out of the front seat and got into the back seat to shoot them? I do not think it was planned before that night. I really don't. I could be wrong, but I really don't. He can be. He can be. I don't know that it would happen with him being, waiting his own trial. So I doubt that. There we go.
On the record, please, in the state of Florida versus Demons, President's defendant, his counsel, the assistant state attorneys. My understanding is we're missing a couple of our jurors, so we're not ready to proceed yet, but my office did get a call from one of our jurors, Claudia Campuzano Mena. She evidently was in the emergency room on Friday. She thinks she had food poisoning is what I'm told, and she was discharged. Everything seemed to be all right, and then she's back in the ER now as we speak. She called to let us know. She said something about she getting checked out and examined now in the emergency room. She asked my secretary, can she come in the afternoon? But we don't know what her status is. And so I don't know how you want to handle it. So you talk about it amongst yourselves. Let me know all the jurors are not here. We're still missing two. All right. So
Two in addition to her?
yes.
Okay.
Judge, can we approach it then very briefly?
Sure.
Okay, so for those of you saying it could be a drive-by, how? Because here's the thing, with the shell casings on the side of the road, like their cell phone data shows that they went to that remote location. We know they went there. All 3 phones show they went there. So we know that they were there. We know that they stopped there. Their movement patterns on the cell phone data show, and this isn't just cell towers. This is actual, like, location data. This isn't just I was on this sector of this tower. This is actual location data. We know exactly where they went on that little road, where it's deserted. Exactly where they went and where they stopped is where there was glass that matches the glass from the car and the shell casings that match the shell casing that was in the floorboard where Melly was sitting. All of the trajectory stuff shows that the car was not in motion when those shots were fired. The back passenger door, or I'm sorry, the back driver's side door was actually open. The one where Melly was sitting was actually open when the shots were fired into the side of the car because one of the bullets lodged into the door jamb right there. So every single bit of evidence that we have shows that they stopped there, the shots were fired into the car, and then they left. So if I'm missing something that could still make it a drive-by, I'd like to understand. Yeah, this is what they say. You can't unring that bell. Once you've heard something, you can't unhear it. Yeah, actually, look, this is the road where, like, this is, so they came off of 27. Here's 27 where there's nothing. It's like the Everglades. And this is the road where the drive-by was staged. So, I mean, you can see there's nothing. Yeah, there were no shell casings where the drive-by supposedly took place and no broken glass, but there were those 2 things in the spot where we saw their cell phones go. He had a small amount of gunshot residue, but unless he scrubbed his hands before he went, there wasn't enough for him to have been the shooter. But gunpowder residue or gunshot residue travels 3 to 5 feet. So it's not, if he was in the car when they were shot or anywhere near them, then it wouldn't be surprising for him to have it. But also, his presumptive test was negative. The lab test showed that it came back with positive, but there are 2 component particles that it could have been, meaning it could have been caused from something else. So the GSR thing, if he had been covered in GSR on his hand, I could see that, but there wasn't enough for that to be conclusive. Or there definitely wasn't enough for it to be damning, in my opinion. Let's see. Where'd they go? The cameras went down. Guess we're waiting. How do you know Cortland? We don't know that. would assume he did get out of the car because he didn't get shot. Yeah, it's them, not, they've got their cameras off for now. Let's see. We'll wait on them to come back. I'm watching it. Here, let me show you this while they're doing that. All right, so this is, as soon as their stuff comes back on, we'll put it on. This is the bullet trajectory. So the 2 shots came from right where Melly was sitting. Now, this is not just trajectory stuff. This is also medical examiner stuff. So his was, Juvy's was on the face from left to right, and the stippling shows that it was very close range. The one on Sack was in his neck, coming from back to the front and left to right and upward. So both shots came from right here. Also, the shots that were fired when the car was stopped were, the judging by the pattern, like the path of the bullet through their bodies, they were fired when the bodies were already, while they were already dead, but also while they were slumped over. Their position that they fell in when they were killed showed them kind of slumped over and to the right. And that's the way that the bullet patterns showed after the car. So between the medical examiner stuff and the trajectory stuff, we know that they were already dead when the outside shots were fired. And then also this, the car over here, this door was open because, like, if the door's right here, one of these bullets came straight through and went into the door jamb right there. So that's kind of hard to overcome, that part. And also, if there's a drive-by on the right side, their kill shots wouldn't be close range on the left side. So, for any of those of y'all who missed it yesterday, I did a little recap video where we went over all of this stuff, showing all the different evidence and pointing different things out. Okay, so see in this, when they talk about him changing clothes, he still had on this shirt that he had on, Portland did, but he had this hoodie that he was carrying out of the studio with him. So he had a hoodie with him. So he didn't actually change clothes, but he did put on a hoodie afterwards. And there wasn't a ton of blood on him. There were a couple of specks on the front of his shirt, a speck on the back of his shirt, and like a little speck on his shoe. These are our witnesses. And then you can see this is, again, the picture that we saw of where they went. I don't know why they're. I don't know what's taking so long. Oh, the name that I searched that I couldn't find, it was Vontrell Roll. And I could not find anything on him. And I've had a couple people send me stuff thinking that it was somebody different. It's not King Von. King Von has a different name. Let's see. That's not exactly what was said. The trajectory, the ones that they're missing certain factors for are like the ones from the back. So, okay, let me go back to the thing. I'll explain this. The defense attorney wanted to get him to say that it's impossible, but basically see how, here, let me do this one. This is the one where, remember when he was saying, oh, it could have been Shaquille O'Neal, or it could have been Gary Coleman, and it could have been somebody, at an angle. So this is kind of what they were saying. Okay, so see the two purple marks. Okay, so if the bullet enters right here and they put the tube through and it shows the path of the bullet. Now, bullets do not always go completely straight. If they had an exact mark of where it came when it was right here and, an exact height of the shooter and how far away he was and all of that, the three variables are the angle, the height, and the distance. So if you only have these two bullet holes, then there could be a pretty wide range of all those different variables, right? But they did take it in consideration where the glass was broken. Oh, they're back.
The evidence that was elicited to be accompanied by a jury instruction, essentially letting the jury know that evidence that's excluded and the evidentiary rules are in place to ensure that only properly authenticated and reliable evidence is put before them. And that's the reason for the rules. And when evidence is put before them that do not comport with the rules, it's because it has been determined under the rules to be either unreliable or insufficiently authenticated. The specific items which I was able to identify by recollection that were introduced and ought not have been in the manner that it was done include, but are not limited to, the following. And we move to strike it from the record. Any and all phone numbers that were contained in any document Holmes was
So you're not talking about physical evidence that's been marked, something that's marked for evidence. You're talking about her testimony.
both.
Well, what was marked in that? Why don't we do this? Why don't you put it in writing? All right, file your motion, put it in writing, give State a chance to digest it, look at it, and I'll take a look at it, and we can get back. You can have a hearing on it. This just picking out sort of this, she said this or that. I don't know. Typically I rule on objections as they come. So, and I thought I ruled on all the objections. There's something that's in evidence that you're seeking to me that's already been admitted that you want to to strike and to have excluded from evidence, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and more than happy to listen to your arguments. But I think I need to have something to digest it. So why don't you put it in writing, give everybody a chance to look at it and do some research on it and find out what the law is. I don't know what the law is on that.
I'm striking inadmissible evidence.
No, the law on having something that's in evidence removed from evidence. Something the jury already saw.
One
You
thing.
put it in writing.
I understand. One thing, Your Honor, we have another court reporter now. And I think if we're gonna put it in writing, it should be complete enough, and we would need a transcript of Ms. Holmes's testimony so that we can be sure to identify all offending references.
I'm sure you can order that, and I'm
I
sure
think
that
she's out for the week. Is she?
my understanding is that she had a calling from a higher authority
Okay.
for DCA is looking for transcripts.
I thought there was no higher.
For DCA is looking for transcripts, and that's what my understanding she's working on. So you tell her what you need, and I'm sure she'll get it to you. Okay. All right. So we'll be in recess. I'm going to make a phone call and or have my Jay make a phone call, find out what the status of the juror is. All right.
Thank you,
sir.
Judge.
We'll be in recess.
Okay, well, interesting. So we are in recess while they do that. So let's look at this real quick while we're waiting on them. Okay, so they have the bullet hole in the front and the back of the seat. And they have an estimate on where it came from right here, which is why, so the green shows that like it takes the estimate down a little bit. So there are variables where they can't say any of this stuff with 100% accuracy. They can give an idea of the height of the shooter based on different variables. But again, the height of the shooter doesn't really matter because the height of the shooter on the outside only has anything to do with who shot them after they were already dead. So they are still apparently waiting for the juror, and then the defense attorney is going to put a motion in writing about removing certain things from evidence, is what he was saying. So I guess we'll see how that goes. This might be one of those days where we have a lot of waiting on everybody. We thought we were going to get a good explosive morning, and now we're waiting. Let's see. Lady Great, you're right. I feel like that happens a lot in jury stuff or in trials. Like I feel like every time there's a juror that's sick, it's always food poisoning. Let's see. He has not said anything about it yet, so I guess not. Or I think if he was, then he would already be selling it. Oh, Vontrell Roll, for whoever asked me. Vontrell Roll was the one who I couldn't find any information on. All right, let's see. So also, I told y'all about the yeah. If 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 there was going to be one, I guess he wouldn't be talking about filing more motions. So, okay. So I told y'all about Bryson Boom Paul, and he's tweeting from the courtroom and everything. So he has a couple of things that he's put up this morning about stuff happening. Let's see. All right. He says Mariah Hamilton's whereabouts are definitely known, especially by her mother, Felicia Holmes. Hamilton was originally called to testify before Holmes on Thursday morning, but Melly's defense objected, so the prosecution called on Holmes instead. Now, okay, so Mariah is the oh yes, this I went over this right before we started, so I re-showed the clips and everything about that, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anyway. Okay, so the whole thing with Mariah and Felicia. Mariah is the daughter that was the ex-girlfriend. Felicia is the one who called, and they called to testify and doesn't remember anything. They're supposed to call Mariah first. Defense objected. And when they asked Felicia where Mariah was, she said she doesn't know. She doesn't know her whereabouts. And I mean, that's not true. They do know. But Bryson Boom Paul also tweeted about that this morning. And he said, the only other thing he said from this morning was that Melly appears to be ready to hear some good news as he smiles and shakes his head as day 5 starts. And then he said, as if this case couldn't get any wilder, waiting on the judge to return. His Twitter is at Bryson Boom Paul, Bryson Boom Paul. If y'all want to hear all the inside scoop. Actually, Nicole Burdett she's no longer on the case. So the one who's sitting by him is Raven. What's her name? We went over this yesterday. Raven Liberty. That was it. But funny thing, I guess not funny to Nicole Burdett, but Nicole Burdett and Jason Rogers law firm. So they hired Melly hired them in 2019. He wanted to have them. They're actually out of Louisiana, but he filed the papers for them to be able to represent him here in Florida. And it was about a year later, they were indicted on 11 federal charges, including trying to defraud the U.S. So they are no longer on the team. The one he's laughing with, her name is Raven Liberty. She's been, I went over this on the video yesterday too. She's been she's represented other rappers and stuff. She actually has, if you look her up on YouTube, she has an old radio show where people call in and ask questions. Rona says, Nurse for God gifted me a membership. Thank you so much, Nurse for God. I appreciate that. I must have missed that when I was looking at the other stuff. I'm sorry, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, let's see. Madam CJ, no Walker. There's not much of a recap. If you want to rewind and see the stuff, most of it's just recapping stuff we recapped the stuff for the mistrial motion, and jurors are late. So that's all that's really happened so far. Let's see. I feel like if they call Mariah, it's just going to be the same thing. It's just going to be her not wanting to talk, her not wanting to acknowledge any of the stuff that she said before. Another hostile witness. Yeah. Raven Liberty is real estate lawyer. Well, that's interesting. Here, let's pull her up. I didn't see, when I pulled her stuff up, I didn't see anything about her being a real estate lawyer. I must have missed that part. I saw, oh, well, actually, no, because the stuff that she was doing, you're right, actually, because when we pulled up her stuff she's a criminal lawyer too, apparently now, but her old stuff that we pulled up, she was answering questions on that radio show about real estate stuff. She's she represented Kodak Black. I remember seeing that. Wait a minute. Why she got a mugshot? Why she got a mugshot? It's interesting. Yeah, she was on that thing we picked out yesterday. She was answering questions about different like real estate things. So I'm assuming she was arrested for fraud. Awkward. Well, this is the now the third attorney on his team that has been, you know what, we're interesting. I'm looking up to see what I can find. Okay, now I do want to say, I don't know anything about his other attorneys. I only know the two who were indicted on federal charges for trying to defraud the United States and all of that stuff, and now this one. falls on the other turn. Yeah, the two that were Nicole Burdette and whatever his name, James Williams or Jason Williams. Okay, Jennifer's saying she was arrested for battery. Okay, so for battery.
City Attorney. Counsel, what I'm being told is Juror Campuzano indicated she's still in the hospital. She's on an IV, and she believes that she's dehydrated, and that's giving her fluids. She thinks, can't confirm it, that she'll get out sometime today, and she thinks that she'll be here by 1:30, but nothing's definite now, doesn't know. So I wanted you guys to talk it over and let me know what you think.
Yes, sir.
And we'll make a decision.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
We're in recess.
She got an IV, so she thinks she's dehydrated, and she might be there by 1:30 possibly, or might be out by 1:30 possibly.
And it's our recommendation that we wait.
State okay with that?
I just have one witness that we might have to adjust a little bit because she's a records concerning her T-Mobile, and she also has a beneficiary hearing. She's appearing virtually on this afternoon. So as long as you can accommodate that, stay fine with it.
You okay with that, Mr. Eggleston?
Yes.
All right, so let's do this then. How about if I tell Gary, just to let the jury know that we had an issue came up. I mean, he's not going to go into any detail, but an issue came up, and we'll see them back at 1:30.
Yes, sir. No
Does that
problem.
work for everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, just remember, I have one,
Can I go ask the witness really quick on scheduling? So
Sure.
if it's gonna fit.
1 second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hush, welcome, welcome, welcome.
The other hearing is at 4, Your Honor, so that'll be fine.
So the state's good with that, defense is good with that, 1:30.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right? You just tell them we'll be back at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be in recess.
Fun times. Dang, not even a hot mic moment. Waited all them days. Waited all them days. Right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm like, dang, I've been up since 5:30, y'all. All right. Well, that's fun. Okay, so let's look at something else for a minute while we got a little time, and then we can take a break. This. And come back. Let's see. I was going to put that one thing up, but they've also got some kind of derogatory stuff on there that I don't want to show. So I'm trying to isolate the stuff I do want to show. All right, so, oops. So here's her mug shot. That's lovely. Best known for representing Kodak Black through multiple legal proceedings. Interesting. Okay, so I want to show this real quick because some people are asking about this stuff. So I'm going to show this, and then we're going to take a little break in between, and then we'll start back up later. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to do a very quick version of what we did yesterday. Very quick. Oh, some of my pictures are missing now. All right. Hide that. Okay, so the I should have fixed this. If I'd have known we were going to have time to go over this today, I would have put Melly back up there, but he's missing. His mugshot's missing for whatever reason. So this is, oh, let me fix this. Take that off. There we go. These are our victims, Sack and Juvie, and where they were sitting. Melly is, of course, down here, and then Portland's up here. See, all of my pictures are missing now. Remember I had her yesterday on here? Anyway. Okay, so this was the story that Portland had when he showed up at the hospital. He showed up at 4:35 a.m. He said that the shooting happened somewhere in this area after they got off 75, and that there was a drive-by shooting, and he came straight to the hospital. So obviously this is pretty close to where they were at. And he said that he didn't see anything, he ducked, et cetera, et cetera. So the officers that are there are like, okay, you know what? That's really close to us. Let's canvass the neighborhood. So they go to on foot to look around for everything. There were no gunshots that were reported in the area. There was no glass shattered anywhere. There were no shell casings. There was nothing that showed anything about a drive-by in this area. The drilling. Maybe they'll be done by 1:30. So that's when everything kind of starts to look suspicious. So they go back and they check the, it's getting louder. They go back and check the studio footage, and they see that they do see Portland getting in the seat right here. They see Sack getting in, and they see Juvie getting in. And to their surprise, they see Melly getting in the rear driver's side, which is news to them because they were told he wasn't there. So according to the opening statements, this is the opening statement summary. Both cars left the studio like right here at 3:19 a.m. They drove the same route until they got pretty much all the way home until they got down here. Now, this is a blown up area of that part. So they came way up north, whatever. They get off 75. So this is where they come. The red car SUV goes home and gets caught on the camera going into the gated community where they live. The Jeep, however, and they're both seen on camera at 3:46 a.m. The Jeep, however, does not turn left to go home. It turns right, goes up and over, and down to Pembroke Road. Now, this is, it's actually a good thing maybe court is in recess for a minute because the construction's starting right above me now. So this is Pembroke Road. Now, this is also Pembroke Road. So just to kind of give you an idea. Now, this is US 27, where they came from. And you can see there's nothing. There ain't nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. Especially 4 in the morning, there ain't nothing. So they come to this very remote location. It shows they turn off US 27. They're right here on Pembroke Road, where, again, you see absolutely nothing. It dead ends into, it dead ends, but at the dead end, there's a part of the road that kind of veers off and goes to a waste management area, and that's it. So that's where they end up for that. This is a picture of them at the side of the road. So their cell phone data shows that they all, the 2 victims and Melly's phone were all coming together, or we're all traveling together, come here. This is where they found the shell casings and the broken glass. And then according to the timeline, let's see, at 3:49 is when the red SUV entered the gates down here. At 4:02, it shows Melly exited the car. And this is, the location shows it was at the scene of the staging. And there were 70 steps recorded on his phone. The Jeep has driven to this, like I said, like I just showed y'all, the dead end with the trash dump. Melly's phone separates from the victim's phones at 4:20, and he FaceTimes. That's when he FaceTimes Mariah. That's when Felicia sees him on the FaceTime, and he says that he was just involved in a drive-by, and he thinks that Sack and Juvie are dead. He's hiding in the bushes, et cetera, et cetera. So at 4:35, Bortland arrives to the hospital. He tells police about the shooting, and that's when they go look. At 4:42, Melly drops a pin for Fredo Bang to come pick him up, and then 11 minutes later drops another one. In between those 2 pins, there were 1,397 steps taken. And then also in the opening summary, she talks about, she shows or tells them that we're going to see all the evidence about Melly being in G-Shine Bloods, and his Instagram message where he says, when somebody asks him about if he's okay and about what happened, he says, "I did that." Shh. The defense openings, major points where he said there's reasonable doubt, there's lack of motive. I'm not going to get into all of it, but there's an interview on Law and Crime that Anjanette did with Juvie's dad, where Juvie's dad says there was motive and it was about money, and he explains his point of view on that. And he also says the police department had tunnel vision, that they saw an up-and-coming star and wanted a star case. He mentions other leads, including some people who had social media accounts that we went over in the video yesterday. He mentions jail calls between Nia Hewitt and Vontrell Roll. I have not been able to find anything about Vontrell Roll, but I was able to find some information about Nia Hewitt. And when I was doing my deep dive, I found out that he or she is, she knows Melly's family. Like Melly's mom follows her on social media and stuff like that. And so I guess she knows them. And he also says that there is reasonable doubt. He said, and this was a really good defense moment, I guess. He said, they aren't here to look for proof. They are here to look for doubt. I thought that was a really good, if I was a defense attorney, that would be something that was a good line. And then he said everything is based on the phone, but he said that they can't prove that he was with the phone. Of course, we know that there is a lot of evidence saying that he was with the phone that we've heard. So we'll have to see how they show us otherwise. Show us anything different. These are the witnesses that basically talked about Bortland entering the hospital, all the CSI stuff, the fingerprints. He did the fingerprints when Melly was booked. She did the analysis and said that Melly's fingerprints were on stuff at the crime scene. And the video cut out. I swear I heard them talking somewhere about his fingerprints were on a shell casing, but I can't be sure. And I don't know where I heard it. And I didn't hear it when I went back and listened again, trying to find it. So that's that. Then day 2, they went over the videos and the CSI stuff. So on the videos, one thing that I thought was important, when everybody's saying that Bortland changed clothes, he didn't technically change clothes. He had the hoodie with him, and you can see him walking out with the hoodie. Also, when you're talking about Melly's phone, Melly has his phone in his hand when he gets in the car. So we do know that he had his phone with him when he got in the car. We also know he had it with him after the murders happened. So I'll be interested to see how the defense talks to us about that one. The other thing was the gun stuff. Now, this took, like I said yesterday, like 8 business years for him to go over, because he had to go over all of the everything about everything. They don't have the murder weapon, so he had to go through a lot of detail to show the links that they went to try to test everything. Now, when they tested the trajectories, there were only 2 that they could say were fired from the same gun. The trajectory is like the actual like this part of the bullet. Like if I were a bullet, my hair would be the trajectory, and this would be the shell casing. The trajectories are, obviously the part that hits everything. So they're always harder to, match up. The shell casings, however, all had, and I'm not going to go over all the similarities and all the things that they tested. I did it yesterday on the video. So if you want to know the recap, y'all can go look at that one. This is just a very Cliff's Notes version of yesterday. But all of the grooves were facing the same way. All of the scratch marks are the same. So you can see right here, these are 2 separate pictures. One is the bullet that was in the or the cartridge that was in the car, and the other one was one on the side of the road. And you can see how their lines match up. They talked about the firing pin, how it makes these like the indentions and stuff like that. The gunpowder or stippling burns over here, how they know that it was so close up and how they came to all that. So we know that the cartridge casing in the car matches the cartridge casing on the side of the road, and also the glass matched. This is all still kind of the same. This is more stuff from the PCA, but I really kind of already went over it. The bullet trajectory we went over earlier. We know that the kill shots were fired from back here, where Melly was sitting when he got in on the video. We know that this is where the kill shots came from. We know that because this one, like if this is our diagram of where he was sitting, where Sack was sitting, it went through his neck back here, and then forward to the right and upward. So that is an obvious sign that it came from the back driver's side. Same with Juvie. His kill shot was a face shot from the left to the right, and the stippling burn shows that it was close range. The trajectory that we were talking about earlier, the shots that were fired into the back of the car and the shots that were fired while into the side of the car are not consistent with the car being in motion while they were fired. And we already know about the glass and the shell casings and their phones stopping at the place where we found the glass and the shell casings and the phones. So that's that on that. One of them also, one major part is one of them went into the door jamb. So when this back passenger door was open, it was left open while the shots were being fired to the side of the car, and one went into the door jamb. So we know that not only was the car not in motion, but the door was wide open. The shots that were fired to stage the drive-by were the bullet pattern or bullet path shows that both of the victims had already been killed, and they were slumped over when those bullets entered them. Thank you for this. Was Melly the only shooter if he did it? If he wasn't, then that means that, okay, if, first of all, if he did it, or if he did one of them, basically, if there was more than one person, then that person, they would have had to, like, you know, kill one, get out, somebody else get in the seat and kill the other. That's the only way that it could have been more than one person. But thank you for that super chat. Let's see. Okay, so again, outside shots were done after this. We already went over. I'm not going to go over it again. The bullet trajectory from the outside is an estimate on how tall they may have been, but it's just a guess. And again, it's doesn't even really matter anyway, because all that is saying who could have staged the scene, not who fired the kill shots. It's really not. I understand why they went over it. It's part of the picture. It's questions that need to be answered. It's things that you have to explore. And I get that, but it's really, it doesn't have any effect on anything because these were not the kill shots. But basically, if the bullets were fired into the back and there's one bullet hole here, one bullet hole here, they took into consideration that it had to be coming somewhere between right here and right here because that's where the glass is busted out. So that would mean their area is in the green right here. But of course, that could be Shaq, who I'm covering right now. I kind of look like him. Or the two examples that he used are Shaq and Gary Coleman. So we made them Shaq and Gary Coleman. And then he said something about the angle and getting down. So, so that's that. Let's see. What is the reason they give for why they went down that dark road? I have not heard anything yet about why they went down that dark road, because as of now, all of the information that has been given was lies. So we're not really sure yet. You know, the thing is, we don't know. Okay, so they said originally that Melly had said that, okay, the first story was that Melly wasn't there, that it was just those three in the car, right? That was the first story. So then they go and pull the footage from the studio and they see, okay, well, that's a lie on everybody's part, because and it wasn't just Melly that lied. I mean, this is Bortland's story. This is, the other guy who they talked to in the red car. This is his story too. So everybody said, Melly wasn't there. Well, then they say, okay, well, we have video of him getting into the car. So then the story changes to, okay, well, yeah, well, he got into that car. But then when we were on, I can't remember exactly where they said, but somewhere off of, I think right off of 75 or something, at one of the exits, that Melly sent them a Snapchat and said that he wanted to swap cars and get in the car with them. So they pulled over and he got in the car with them. So that was story number 2. So once again, story number 2 we know is a lie, because the GPS data is on your phone. Like I said, this is not cell tower data. This is very accurate GPS location. It can tell you even, it can tell you how fast you're going. It can tell you when you stop, all of that stuff. So there was no time where the cars slowed down or stopped for him to get into the other car. So we know that was also a lie. The phone that he had was with the victims' phones all the way from when they were on that dark alley or dark road, not alley. And then we know that, so we know he had the phone beforehand because we see it in his hand. We know he had the phone afterward because Felicia, there's nothing else she said she remembered, but she did say she remembered seeing his face on what she thought was a FaceTime call. And which shows as a data event, and that data event time that he FaceTimed them lines up with the data event that's on his phone, which all that comes out later. But so that's going to be the hardest thing for them to come over. This whole thing. Do I think that the state has proved their case as of now? No, I think that they have 100% proved that it was not a drive-by. But have they proved, have they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Melly is the killer and has pulled the trigger? No. But we're only on day 4. Who knows what's going to happen? Things can go in either direction depending on what we hear. But with the cell phone evidence, it's going to be really hard to overcome that for a lot of the jurors because, when they're looking at evidence that's so precise about your location, and all of them being together, and even you can tell, they're all traveling the same speed together, and they stop, those things are going to be very hard for the jury to overcome if the defense doesn't have, a good explanation for it. So we'll see what they have to say about it. Let's see. No, Bortland, he does not go to trial until October. So this trial doesn't have anything to do with him or what they're going to find with him. He doesn't go to trial until October. Let's see. Brad says, evidence shows a backseat shooter, but they haven't placed one specific person in that seat yet. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why I say, they have not proven this beyond a reasonable doubt yet. Do I think the evidence looks bad? Yeah. If the evidence didn't look bad, he wouldn't be on trial, right? But, but the evidence can look bad, and then we can hear things that, make it make sense. Going into Travis Rudolph, when you just hear what they're telling you from, the outsider, from the media and stuff like that, you hear that and you're like, oh, that sounds pretty bad. And then, as soon as I heard details on that, I was like, innocent. I was totally, defense side. You never know what you're going to hear. Right now, no, it doesn't, doesn't make sense. So we'll have to see what they tell us about it. Let's see. Let's see. Trying to go through some of the questions now. I can't read y'all's questions while I'm trying to get my quick recap stuff out, because then if I do, then my ADD will kick in and I'll get distracted, won't be able to get it all out. Let's see. Trey Willis, if Melly's guilty for this, he is legitimately psychotic. These are his childhood friends. He would have to muster up the confidence to shoot. That is one of the things that, one of the reasons that they're going for death penalty is they're saying that this is so heinous because these were, longtime best friends, and the malice it would take to do that. Let's see. I hope that they can prove it not true. I hate to think of somebody killing their 2 best friends. Mistrial may happen if we can't keep the jury intact. Who knows with that? Then they said 2 other ones were late this morning too. Let's see. Let's see some lurkers. Let's see. Jail Productions USA says it's almost impossible to get a mistrial in death penalty case because of several factors. Let's see. I don't even know what that comment means. I'm not going to show it. Let's see. If it's my question, no one has, only wrong answers. I checked on the answers I got. What question was that? Closest info I could find about that name is barrel rolls, refers to the dreadlock type hairdo worn by Melly. Yeah, this was somebody who was in jail who had a call with that young lady. No ruling for mistrial. We're waiting on jury. They'll be back at 1:30 Eastern. Let's see. Stephanie Wills, will the jury know they lied over and over? Yeah, I mean they've talked about it a little bit already because you know, they mentioned it in opening statements, and I have a feeling that when they go over the cell phone evidence, they'll bring that up again. But here's the thing: if I were the defense, I would say, okay, it's, you know, well, and the defense attorney did already say, you know, these were Bortland's lies. Like he you know, put it on Bortland. Bortland's the one who said, you know, that this is what happened. This is what he said. And the driver of the other car that they talked to, you know, he said that Melly wasn't there. And then he said that, well, you know, Melly wanted me to stop and get him. He sent me a Snapchat for us to swap cars. So they'll know that those people lied, but those were their lies. I'm not sure what stories have come directly from Melly, so we'll have to see what they say about that too. Kathy said judge ruled on Friday, no mistrial on Friday. Oh, well, that's news to me. He said when they were getting out on Friday that he was going to review it over the weekend. That was the last thing he said on camera, so that was the last we heard. Let's see. Jay Green's uncle at one point begged for him to turn himself in, but he was never mentioned. Jay Green's uncle begged for him to turn himself. Begged for who to turn himself in? Begged for Jay Green to turn himself in? Let's see. Yeah, if he's convicted, there are already grounds for appeal. Oh, yeah, I can do that. For sick, court will resume at 1:30 Eastern. There we go. Let's see. Robert says clearly guilty. Too many attempts to hide evidence. There are attempts to hide things. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's guilty. Like I said, I think that the evidence doesn't look great, but my mind is still open because we haven't heard everything yet. The dang drilling's back. The trial right now is, they have it on the docket scheduled until August 3rd. But last week they had said that they expect the final witnesses to be done by July 19th. So we'll see. But that's always subject to change. If this is the first trial that you're watching from start to finish, then you're welcome. You're one of us now. It gets really interesting. It's amazing how much you hear when you watch it gavel to gavel, as opposed to what you only hear when you watch snippets or watch the news. It's amazing the things that, and look, if I watched just coverage of some of these people and what they're saying about the trials, I would not know. People are very skewed in a lot of times when they're giving what they see. So I like watching it gavel to gavel so I can make my own decisions. Let's see. The trial is not over. We start back at 1:30. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time. I am going to take a break. I'm trying to go through questions and answer stuff, and I like to, y'all know I love a good graphic, so I like to kind of try to help break things down so we all can see things. No, jurors are not sequestered. Do people know about Melly's 2015 shooting near Vero Beach High School? This is something I went over on one of the videos, like the intro that I did before we started this, to kind of give some background on everything. There was he was 16, and actually the footage of his interrogation stuff has recently surfaced online. But he was 16. He shot... he took a gun to school, shot at 3 people. He was charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and discharging a firearm. I can't remember how that one's worded. Unlawful discharge of firearm, or however the technical term is on that one. And he did 1 year for that. It was actually while he was locked up for that he wrote the song "Murder on My Mind," which of course became his biggest hit. And then when it became his biggest hit, after he wrote it, they used that as a parole violation because of the glorification of murder and the, what they call it, how graphically he planned it out, fantasizing or whatever about murder. So they used that to violate his parole, and he was locked back up for a little bit for that. Appeals will be heavy on this. Yes. This has been a wild one. It really has. Brooklyn, I don't know if he shot them or not, or had a hand in the shootings. I wouldn't doubt it, but the state has sunk their own case. The state has sunk their own case. This has been... it's been something to watch. The thing is, the judge very clearly told her what not to do, and she kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing, and then she finally just did it anyway. No court on Friday. They don't have court scheduled on Friday on the docket at all for this trial. on any Friday. And, which reminds me, we don't have court scheduled on the docket for this trial the entire week of 4th of July. So while I'm on the cruise and I'm out island hopping, there will be no court. So thank you. Yes, we love our members and our lurkers and newbies. We love all of our people. Oh, well, then this isn't the one I was talking about. I was talking about when he shot at the school and he was convicted and he did a year in jail. So he shot at school twice? Because the only one I know of in the school parking lot is he was convicted for it. 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and discharging a firearm. And he did a year, and then they violated his parole for his song. But as much as I've read into this, who knows? I could miss something. Kayla Dawkins, will they possibly show the interrogation of Melly? I doubt it. The one that just resurfaced is the one from when he was younger. The one, when this happened, I think he lawyered up, from what I understand. I could be wrong, and Lord knows if I am, y'all will tell me. But I don't think that they had an interrogation video that I've heard of on this one, and it could be because obviously they're going to question, but I think that he had his attorney with him, so it wouldn't be the same as the stuff that, like the first one that we saw, or the one that just came out, I should say. Yes, I've heard this too. He is a suspect in the shooting of a guard. That case is still unsolved. So I've heard that before too. Let's see. Yes. The Travis Rudolph trial was something else. That one, I had anger issues during that one. I was getting so mad. But our interview with Mark Shiner was one of my favorite moments so far. Let's see. Yeah. If they had ruled a mistrial, then we wouldn't be waiting on the jury. Let's see. But I was hoping for like this exciting moment this morning where they were like talking about it and giving explanations on it and like having like I know that kind of stuff might not be exciting to everybody, but I like hearing the court argument stuff. But nope, they just kind of denied and kept it moving. Let's see. Okay, so Melly has said he has ADHD and multiple personality disorder. Will that have an effect on the case? Okay, so Melly he does have ADHD. He does not have multiple personality disorder. He has bipolar disorder. So it's two different things. His multiple personality thing, he is not diagnosed multiple personality disorder. He says he has mixed personalities and he has like basically alter egos. So the difference is if you have like how he's either Melly versus Melvin and that type of thing, he is still, whichever personality is coming out, he is still who he is and he still knows right from wrong. He, I saw one interview he did where they asked him a question that made him mad, and he was smiling. He's like, yeah, well, Melvin's coming out now. Melvin's the one who's the angry personality. That won't have an effect on this case for a few reasons, though. The ADHD and bipolar and all that it has an effect on impulse control, yes, but it does not have enough of an effect for it to make you, to give you any kind of forgiveness in the eyes of the law. As far as multiple personality disorder, if he actually had multiple personality disorder and it wasn't just his mixed personalities or whatever that he says, then that would be something that they would have to prove, and that's a very hard thing to prove. And he would have, in order for that to have an effect on it, he would have had to have pled, with that as a defense. But his defense is not insanity or DID or anything like that. His defense is that it wasn't him, he wasn't there, based on what they've said so far. Let's see. Wait, says it's try going. Hello, Peter. Still welcome. Welcome back. The trial is definitely going. We're waiting on a sick juror who will be back in 3 hours. Let's see. Why did the DA do that? I think that the DA was understandably frustrated. Okay, imagine hearing this story now twice, once in deposition and once in a statement, and having this information that you're told by a witness that corroborates all of the cell phone data and all of the other evidence that you have. But the other evidence that you have, even though you have like the location and this and this and this, having a witness corroborate all that is a huge deal. And especially because of the testimony that she gave and the messages about, Melly and his manager, paying her off, those are huge, huge deals. That's something that if I'm a prosecutor, I'm like, oh, this is, the jury needs to hear this. And they can't hear that without her cooperating. And I think that she wanted so badly for the jury to know that, because so much of her case rests on the corroboration of these statements and them seeing these messages and all that. I think that she got frustrated and tried to just make it happen. But what do I know? Off topic, but you know a lot of things about court. First time on your channel. What is your day job? This is my day job. I did marketing for years. I did marketing and sports marketing. And when I went through cancer, I have a lot of health problems now, and I couldn't go back to work. And I've always followed trials and court cases and true crime and all that kind of stuff. I've always been really interested in it. And I used to want to be a lawyer when I was younger, but my mom always said I should be because I like to argue. But I've always followed this stuff and been really interested in it. And then all of this just kind of happened. I needed somewhere to direct all of my creative energy since I wasn't approved to go back to work, and it turned into all of this. Let's see. Oh, yeah. He was convicted of the school shooting, but the sheriff incident is an accusation that both him and Bortland were involved or present. Yeah, that's what I remember as well. He did turn himself in for this. He actually, I don't know, is Dogs in here? We had his old manager, who I've spoke to before, his manager before 100K track, Francois, whatever you want to call him. We had him in here before, and I've talked to him a little bit, and they actually arrested him thinking it was Melly when they were in DC at a show, and then Melly went and turned himself in the next day. Let's see. Travis Rudolph's trial was eye-opening. I agree. I think that there are a lot of people who said that a lot of people in the chat I saw who said that they have been always kind of on the prosecution side, that said that that was the first trial that they were on the defense side. And I think seeing how dirty some prosecutors can play and how incompetent some investigators are is eye-opening. Lord knows Vanderlyn is not cut out for that job. Okay, Amanda Brown says, new update. Was misinformed on the denial for mistrial, still awaiting ruling by the judge when court returns at 1:30. Gotcha, that was Boom's correction. Gotcha. I know I'm behind on chat, but I'm trying to make sure I answer the questions before we dip out. Let's see. Do you think they will remove the testimony by the state last week, as asked this morning from the defense? I don't know. He told him to put it in writing what he wanted taken out. I'm curious about how much of it. This has gone off the rails. At this point, it's only day 4, and this has gone off the rails. So I'm not exactly sure what all they're wanting to change. You know, it's a shame too, because when stuff like this happens, it affects the ability for a fair trial. And who knows? From what I understand, he has clinical diagnosis for his bipolar and for his ADHD, but those are the only ones that I have heard of. Of course, I haven't seen the paperwork from it. I'm only going by what I've read when researching everything. But let's see. Bring in Dr. Lewis. No. I don't think she'll be testifying again for a while. I think she had enough. Do you guys think it's remarkable how both were hit in or near the head? You would think Zach Chaser would be quick to move once he heard the first shot ring out. I've wondered about this. I don't know who was first, but I think it would have had to been Zach that was shot first because of it going. Well, I mean, who knows? It went in his neck, and then and out the front, like, and then Juvie was shot in the face. So, I don't know. There's nothing showing that that Portland has taken a deal. Right now, his trial is still set for October. Yeah, I have ADD. Y'all can tell on the days when I stream if I've forgotten to take my medicine because I can't focus at all. I'll get completely distracted. I get distracted anyway, even when I take my medicine, but I get so distracted. There was one morning where I forgot to take it and I could not focus to save my life. And I finally was like, oh, I didn't take my medicine. So I took it. And then like 30 minutes later, I was good. But it definitely alters, impulse control and that type of stuff too, but not enough to where you don't know right from wrong. Let's see. Son says, have you ever been on trial and fought for your life? I have fought for my life, not on trial, but never on trial. Okay, John says, I've been keeping up and doing research for a while now. I honestly came to the conclusion it was Cortland. Interesting. What makes you think that? Because at some point that means that they would have had to swap seats. So I'm curious, Don, what your theory is around it. I like hearing people's theories and why. Some of the stuff y'all say I ain't showing. Okay. I'm so behind on chat. I'm trying to answer questions, but I'm behind. Let me try to get caught up a little bit. Yeah, they're awesome. I get behind because I do try to answer as many questions as I can, but then I get behind. Like the stuff I'm seeing right now is from 9:38, and now it's 9:42. So I know I get behind, but I try to get y'all. Let's see. So now there's more reports of, you know what? We'll address it when I get caught up. We'll see what the newest report is when I get caught up on chat. There were no bullet holes in the back of the driver's side seat. Only the passenger seat. For those of y'all who think it was Cortland, I would like to know why you think that and what your theory is on how that happened. I love to hear other people's opinions. Let's see. I did watch the interview with Travis. That was a good interview, and I teared up when he was talking. Oh, I'm finally caught up on chat. It was a good interview when he was talking about his dad passing. I cried like a baby. report is changing every other minute. Can't keep up. Yeah. No kidding. All right, I'm looking for the answers about explaining why you think it's Portland. I might have missed them. Good morning. Good morning. You haven't missed much. We're waiting on the juror. There's a juror that's sick on an IV, possibly dehydrated, who won't be there for another 2 hours and 45 minutes. This is my issue that I have with Portland being the shooter. So I would like to hear the theory around that. I like hearing other theories. Okay, Lamont says it was just too fishy. They all get in together, and then they said Cortland had bullet shells right beneath him in the driver's seat. Also, it could be that they both did it, but I could be wrong. Okay, so Cortland didn't have shells underneath him. He had a trajectory that was under the one of the pedals, I think is what they said. So the only shell that they found in the car was where Melly was sitting, but there was trajectory that was found under him. So the reason that's a big deal is because when the shell comes out when you shoot, comes out, wherever the shooter is, the trajectory is a piece from the bullets and or from the tip of the bullet or whatever, or the tip of the cartridge, I guess I should say, however you want to word it. So that can end up different places for ricochet and things like that. But the actual shell or cartridge casing that they found was in the floorboard where Melly was sitting. Either way, I think, obviously Portland lied about everything. So I'll be really interested to watch his trial too and see what the deal is on that and what his attorneys say and what story they have. Actually, this is something that I've heard people talk about, that, in his song Murder on My Mind, it said, one of the lyrics says something about how he didn't even want to shoot him. He just caught him by surprise and then shot him 2 more times. So I've seen some people talking about, well, maybe he just lost his cool, lost his temper. I would love to know the actual I would love to know the truth. I think it was Cortland after he dropped Melly off. Explain that to me, because none of the evidence that I've seen is all of the where the shooting happened. Melly, his phone and stuff, he was still there. Could it be that they both shot at the same time? No, because both of the bullets came from, based on the medical examiner's report, came from the back seat. So if they had both come just left to right, like Juvies did, then totally. But with Sachs coming left to right and front or back to front and up, it shows it came from the back seat. What is my theory for the situation? Do you think Melly did it? I think whoever was sitting in the back seat did it. I think that the evidence looks, the cell phone evidence looks pretty damning for him as of right now. But like I said, I haven't made my mind up yet. I don't feel like the state's proven it yet. I'm still waiting to hear more information. Normally when, unless it's just a terrible case, normally when prosecution finishes, I read something one time, like if you have good attorneys, then when prosecution finishes, you should definitely believe that prosecution is right. And by the time defense finishes, you should definitely believe defense is right. So right now, the evidence is pointing toward guilt for me, but I don't feel like they've proven it yet. And my mind is still open because we haven't heard everything yet. So there are plenty of things that could change my mind, but I still haven't even made my mind up yet. Who was in the rear driver's seat? Melly was in the rear driver's seat when they left the studio. Two different weapons were used at the exact same time. What do you mean 2 weapons? There was only 1 weapon. My theory is that maybe one was killed and the other was calmed down, led to believe that they were going to be safe, and then boom, second one. That could be true. I don't know how many alternate. I can probably find that out when we're on our break, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, that song he wrote when he was locked up the first time. So there were people say the Murder on My Mind song. So there were people saying that, how they say like life imitates art. So they were saying maybe, this is how it could have happened because it shows what kind of, whatever they said, how it shows how his mind could possibly work or whatever. But it's hard to say that when it's a song because, there's, who knows with songs. There's a lot of people who, a lot of rappers who I've heard who've rapped about things that I know they're full of crap. So who knows? Let's see. Yeah, the song was made before this. The song was written when he was in jail the first time. Let's see. Could the shell have been rolling around while they were driving? Well, there was a white plastic bag in the floorboard and the shell fell into that bag. So it couldn't have really rolled further than just that. But also, even if it were, like, let's say it came from, like, that it was in the front seat. I had this exact same car, actually, but different color. Mine was white. But I had this exact same car. There's not a way under that front seat for anything to roll to the back. There's like, the carpet doesn't just continue or whatever. There's like all these like grooves and holes and stuff like that. Let's see. No, I don't think it's a moot point. I think that people are comparing his state of mind on how he views things as opposed to could he have acted this way? Not that the song was written about this murder, but the debates that I was seeing were people saying, if this is how his mind works, could this have been what he did? Like, could he have, when they, like in the song, when he says he, didn't mean to kill him, they just caught him by surprise. So they were saying, could this mean that, if he just snapped, then panicked or whatever? This is kind of where I stand right now too. JL Productions USA. We have not heard all the evidence. We know what Brandi has summed up. Still need to hear the rest of the evidence. They have not placed Melly's finger on the weapon yet. Let's see. So I am captivating 85 says, I wonder if Melly and Cortland tried to communicate while in jail. Do they still consider themselves friends? They are not allowed to talk. But I mean, who knows? But I will say this on when I was doing my deep dive looking at everything on social media stuff, Bortland still has like free Melly stuff all over the place. He's doing songs with Melly's younger brother. He's still very supportive of Melly socially or publicly, I should say. Yeah. Son says YNW music is so good. They should just drop this case. This is why I'm not a juror. Thank God you're not a juror because that's not the burden of proof. Let's see. Judy was shot by somebody in the back driver's side. His wounds prove this. Yes, 3 inches to 18 inches from left to right. Yes, that is correct. There's a juror that we're waiting on. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying. Hi, Candace Hoff. Welcome back from your appointment. I'm trying to go through and answer some questions, and then we'll take a break and start back up before they come back. We got about 2.5 hours. I might go lay by the beach for an hour. Yeah, Amanda G says, I can't wait to hear from the medical examiner. There is, that will be interesting, but also really sad. But it's public record if you want to pull up the recorded deposition from the first time they talked to the medical examiner. It was very enlightening. If Melly was in the driver's seat rear and it was proven that they did not stop and the bullets came from the rear of the car, he did it. I haven't found an alternate theory yet that makes sense. The drilling. Let's see. Melissa Ann says the shooter could have shot fast enough to get both. The first shot could have shocked the other for a second, enough time to be shot before able to react. That's why I was thinking in my head, if he's shooting from the back seat, he possibly shot Sack first because Sack was still facing forward. If he shot Juvie second, Juvie's kill shot was through the face. So if he just saw his friend get shot in front of him, I could see him like kind of not necessarily turning this way, like, you know, like looking forward or something. So that's why I was thinking maybe that's how it could have happened. If, you know, Zach was shot first, but I'm not really sure. What exactly are you confused about? If you're confused, watch the video I did from yesterday. I summed up all of the first 4 days. I have not heard 223 yet. The song that is really incriminating is 223. The hook of the song, he claims to have 2 bodies on him. I have not heard that one yet. Let's see. One thing about Florida, their conviction rate is high, and I honestly believe they're not letting Melly walk away from this. Well, I mean, it depends on the jury, what the jury says about it. I don't know. It's hard too, because, you know, even though we call this 13th juror and we look at this from a jury's perspective, we really don't, because we also go into a lot of the background information with a lot of this stuff. So there's a lot of things that we've heard that we have that they haven't. So it's hard to say. PJ says judge seems to be on the defense side, to me, hostile to the state. Agree. Also, way too many sidebars. Okay, I do agree, way too many sidebars. I don't see him going one side or the other. Or I should say one side more than the other. I think that he's been a little prickly with both of them. Like, even when the defense attorney laughed and he said, "Is something funny?" I think he's been a little prickly with both of them. But there's a lot of sustained objections in this one. I haven't seen this many sustained objections in a trial in a while. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, Alyssa, if it came from the back side where Juvie was sitting, then yeah, but on that car, there isn't a way for it to roll from the front. Well, plus it was in the bag, so I guess. Let's see. He did write a lot of songs in jail then. Say what again? I'm behind on chat. I don't know what I said. He does have a history. Casey Smith says he was already shooting at people at 16. This guy grew up full of violence. So he does have a history with certain things. Like, he took a big knife to school when he was younger and said he was going to, you know, do his own throat and the throat of this girl. And that was, I think, like they said, like 8th grade or something. I can't remember. I have it on my first video, but I can't remember exactly when he said. Interesting. Oh, let's see. So I've heard somebody say this in the chat before. 2 days before the killings, Sack Chaser beat Melly, knocking out his gold grill in front of Melly's girl. I'm sure this irritated him and kind of let it simmer. I've heard this before, but how do we know that that's true? I'm not saying it's not. I just want to know where it came from, because I've heard it one time before, and I like to know how we know things true so that I can know things are true and not rumor. Because if it's rumor, I make a point to say, I don't know if this is true. This is rumor. I'm very particular about that. All right, let's see. Am I caught up? Nope, I'm not. Almost. Can the driver be a state witness? He can. I don't think it's very likely, but he can, but he doesn't have to be, also because his trial's in October. So he has the right to remain silent because of anything that would incriminate him, et cetera, et cetera. There's that drilling. All right, I think I'm almost caught up. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. Bullets can travel, ricochet, bounce in and out of the body like the one coming from under his seat. Well, that was not the bullet that they found under the seat. The bullet was found under the pedal. It was the shell casing that they found in the floorboard in that bag that had fallen in that white bag. Let's see. Brandi has put a lot of hard work and research. I have put a lot of hard work and research in this case. You should check out her videos that are not biased, just showing what's happened so far. Look, I'm the first to tell you, when I've made up my mind about something, then I've made up my mind, and I, could be wrong, might not be. Like, I've made up my mind about Murdoch, and there's very little that I've ever seen that has made me second guess what I said based on my hours and hours and hours of putting stuff together. I made up my mind about Travis Rudolph after I heard, so many things. I can get to a point where I make up my mind. I'm not there right now. Like I said yesterday, I 100% believe this was not a drive-by, that the drive-by was staged. That to me is a no-brainer. Do I feel like they've put the gun in Melly's hands right now? No. But again, we're still on day 4. This is very early. We'll see what happens. My mind could go either way. And no matter what I say, I'm going to have, if I say something that sounds like it's pro one side or the other, then whichever other side people are on, I'll hear them say, I'm biased. I'm opinionated. There's a difference. Let's see. Every time I think I'm caught up, then chat moves again. I'm 4 minutes behind. Let's see. So I understand what you're saying, son. Says it's almost as if they kept Melly in jail waiting for this law to pass and distract us from the more gnarly things that are happening right now. I understand what you're saying, but this law didn't pass until after the Parkland shooter thing. It just passed recently. Actually, so everything got pushed back for him because of COVID. And then with, they took death penalty off the table and they put it back on the table. Then he's gone through different legal counsel because he's had he's had some shady characters as his legal counsel that are now no longer practicing because they're facing federal indictments and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of things that have pushed back his trial over and over. And then they've been doing jury selection. They took them months to do jury selection. Let's see. Juvie's father discussed it. That other one, I don't think I remember hearing that part in that, but I was focused on his motive as far as the money stuff goes. So if it was the one he did with Anjanette, I'll have to go back and watch it. If they free him, he's free. That's the end of it. Bortland is still on house arrest until he goes to trial in October, but if they free Melly, then he's just done. Okay, let's see. I think I'm almost caught up now. Sanders says, Law and Crime said that the attorneys got a written notice from the judge saying motion for mistrial denied. I'm not surprised. Casey Smith says, we don't have to be biased to be looking at what we know so far and lean one way or the other. Yeah, and that's why I'm very particular, too. If y'all notice when I do my our polls about what you think, I don't just do is Melly guilty or innocent. I do based on what we've seen so far, which way are you leaning? I'm very specific about how I word that because I don't think you can really make up your mind until you've heard enough to do so. And we're on day 4. So, I mean, you can make up your mind. You're not a juror. You can do whatever you want. But I try to keep a very open mind until I've heard enough to prove things. Yeah, there's a lot of motions. I mean, when you look at the public record on this, it's like, it's so long. There's so many motions. And a lot of that has to do with death penalty stuff. A lot of that has to do with deposition stuff. A lot of that has to do with, I mean, it's just witnesses trying to get different witnesses out of their subpoenas. You know, they filed stuff to try to get Felicia and Mariah to not have to testify. They filed stuff saying that Fredo Bang, trying to get him out of his subpoena and saying that his subpoena wasn't valid and that he doesn't have to testify, and trying to exclude different witnesses and trying to, I mean, there's so many motions. Let's see. Yeah, I don't get the undecided option. If not convinced of guilt, then default is not guilty. Yeah, when I do my final poll after we've heard everything, I don't give an undecided yet. When I'm doing stuff as we've gone, you know, as we go, because that's how you're leaning and not what you've decided, then I'll do an undecided because, you know, you could be leaning one way or the other, or you're still not sure. But when I do my final poll, I don't give an undecided because if you're not decided, then that is automatically not guilty because it hasn't been proven to you without reasonable doubt. He's doing good. He's feeling better today. Thomas Turner, do you find it suspicious that Bortland had gunpowder on his hands, which could mean that he could have thrown the casing in the back? No, I don't find it suspicious because he had the preliminary test or the presumptive test was negative and the lab test was positive, which and it was positive, like the way they were explaining it, where he said, how did he word it? It wasn't blue or something like that. It could be, there wasn't enough on there for me to be suspicious about anything. GSR can travel 3 to 5 feet when you fire. So even if his hands are on the steering wheel and Melly or whoever is in the back seat fires, it's not. It wouldn't be suspicious for gunpowder or gunshot residue to be on his hand. Now, if there were a ton of it on his hand, that would be a lot more damning, and that would have more than likely also, of course, shown up in the presumptive test too. But there wasn't enough to make it suspicious to me at all. Oh, I finally caught up on chat again. Okay. Yeah, everybody in the car would have GSR on them. When you're in an enclosed space and there were 2 shots fired, there's going to be GSR. It's the fact that he didn't have a lot on his hands, and I don't know the details of when they tested him for, or when they bagged his hands for GSR and everything. From what it sounded like, when they were talking about that whole process they went through, it didn't sound like he had time to really wash his hands or anything. But I think if it were suspicious, then it would be if he didn't have it on there at all. I think it would be a little bit more suspicious. Oh, yep, same thing. Yep. Yeah, GSR alone never proves a shooter. So this is one thing too we talked about in our interview with Mark Shiner too, when he was talking about GSR, and they even talked about it in this trial too. It's a screening tool. Like, that test is not an end all be all. It's a screening tool, so it can give you more information that you had before, but it's not going to give you enough information to, like, give you all the answers you need. So it's more of a screening tool. Alrighty, so I am caught up on chat. It is 10:16 now, so we are going to take a little break. We will be back. Let's see, 10:16. So we'll be back in 2 hours. So I'm going to go enjoy a little bit of beach time while we're waiting. They start back at 1:30, which is 12:30 my time, 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern. So I am going to, it's 10:16 my time. It's 11:16 Eastern. So let's say we'll meet back here in 2 hours, and that'll give us about 15 minutes to hang out and chit chat before we get going again. Sound good? I will create the stream. And I'll just, because we'll end this stream, I'll start a day 2 stream, and we'll get it going not long before we get started, okay? So hopefully our sick juror will be back and we can get this show on the road. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. I tried. I do try really hard to see all the questions that I can, but it's not always easy. But I try, y'all. Okay, I appreciate y'all hanging out this morning, and go take you a long break, get lunch, get fresh air, do goat yoga, do whatever you do when you have a 2-hour break. And I will see y'all back here in 2 hours. Thank you for reporting to jury duty. See you in a little bit.